I have two great guys with me here today. We have Bill Miller, a frequent co-host on the show here. Bill is with Bank 59, Bank High Five, in other words.
Got it right this time.
Got it right this time. And Bill's going to be here lending us a little bit of expertise in not only, I mean, as an experienced homeowner, but also on the a little bit on the financing side and stuff as well.
Absolutely.
We're going to get into a little bit of that. And our special guest of the day is Al Verette from Verette Construction. Verette Construction out of Menominee Falls does great work. If you are in need of any of their services, which we will get into in just a little bit. But thanks for coming today, Al.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll have a great conversation here. The main topic of today is going to be about foundation repair and foundations, and we're going to kind of get into some of the nitty-gritty of the stuff that Al deals with on a daily basis, but stuff that you hopefully will never have to deal with, but it's just a fact of life, okay? Dealing with foundation problems and being in the real estate industry, inspecting homes and stuff like that, Bill financing homes, ultimately foundation repairs are very common and something that you may have or an issue with or need repair services in your home, and we'll kind of give you a little bit of the nitty-gritty of what that kind of gets into as far as what the repairs might look like, and also what kind of problems you might want to look for in your foundation to know if you have a problem, because you might not know you have a problem unless you know what you're looking for, right, guys?
Exactly.
Yeah. So Verette Construction, 23 years into the foundation business was Al. However, the company's been 1969. It says it was founded. Is that?
It's somewhere there.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Al is the president of Verette Construction, and he's a working president. He's not the sit behind the desk kind of president. So we put him in a polo today, made him look all clean and spiffy. So he's here with you guys. But you also have a little bit of a history as a Marine, I understand. Is that right? Yeah. Hoorah, man. And once a Marine, always Marine, right? Motto.
That's what the sticker on the back of my truck says.
There you go.
Awesome.
And then if you do need to reach Verette Construction, we're going to throw this number up on the screen a number of times, but Verette Construction, the phone number is 262-250-7502, 262-250-7502, and if you just have questions, you want them to come out and give you a free quarter estimate, free. Ooh, there you go. Who gets stuff for free these days? And there's no inflation on that either. Oh man. Whew. All right. So they are out of Menominee Falls. They do have a general work area up to basically Metro Milwaukee, southeastern Wisconsin. They do go out to probably as far as Oconomowoc area. They go over to like Mequon, Cedarburg, that kind of stuff, maybe Grafton and stuff. And in that general vicinity down to Oak Creek.
Oh, we'll go past Oak Creek.
Past Oak Creek.
Yeah.
Racine. Kenosha's probably a little far.
That's a little far.
Yeah.
But we've been there.
Yeah, and, they would be happy to come out and give you a free estimate for any repairs that you might need. And on this show today, you're going to find out what you should be looking for to find out if you need to call them and get that free quarter estimate. Some of the services that they offer foundation repair. Probably your biggest thing is foundation repair, right? They do offer excavation services, so they have the equipment and manpower to get that stuff done for you if you do need excavation of anything. They also do egress windows. Ross, a little sample. Look at this little egress sample. This is pretty cool. So egress windows has to have proper step and stuff in it like that, and this is basically would allow your lower level to be made into livable square footage, which we'll get a little bit into that a little bit later. There's different types, but those guys are probably the creme de la creme, right?
They are. That's
as far
the
as
Cadillac service.
Yeah. And you got to pair that with a proper foundation company that can come in and do the whole and make all the repairs so that your structure is not going to be sacrificed as a result of that, which can happen if you have a bad company.
It's not DIY either.
It is not a DIY thing. No, not at all. And then I saw in there that you guys do masonry repairs and restoration. I wasn't expecting that. What kind of masonry are we talking about?
Tuck pointing
And stuff like that.
Some people just want the cracks chipped out, tuck pointed.
Sure.
Make it look nice.
Yeah. Are you guys? You're not doing up and doing chimneys or nothing like that.
No.
Yeah. Just
strictly basements.
Basements. Yep. Yeah. Very good. All right. So that is Verette Construction. We're going to get a little bit into more in depth with those guys today about the foundations and stuff like that. So we're going to get into our foundation repair topic here today. One of the things that we got to go into this first of all understanding is that there's different types of foundations. Okay. If you have a stone foundation, probably not the guys to call, right?
No. We have done things with stone foundations.
Probably just drain tile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. With a stone foundation, you're not gonna be putting in beams or anything like that. The walls aren't plumb. It's just not gonna be, and the walls they very rarely collapse or bow or anything like because they're 2 feet thick.
They're 2 feet
Yeah.
thick. We've seen them, start to deteriorate.
Sure. Yeah. Where mortar joints are starting to fail and that kind of stuff.
Retuck point them, maybe a parge coat.
Parge coat, yeah. Parge coat is, for those of you that don't have stone foundations, parge coating is basically a thin coating of concrete type material, mortar, yeah. And it basically helps to seal the stone so that you have less moisture getting into the wall, causing type of masonry deterioration. So, but stone foundations, not very common here in Wisconsin as far as repairs and stuff goes. However, they were a very common practice up until probably the early 1900s, 1910,
Old farmhouses.
20 old farmhouses. We'll still see those. And basically it's literally, we're not kidding. It's 2 feet thick. Like it's this thick of a foundation. Wow. So it's pretty crazy. Some of the lowest radon levels I had, being that our defect of the week is radon. Some of the lowest radon levels I've had have been on stone wall foundations. No drain tile, no sump crack. And 2 foot thick foundation, basically not allowing the air to penetrate through. So, yeah. But stone foundation is one of them. The two most common that you're going to see, especially in today's construction world, is going to be block, a masonry block, and poured foundations. Poured foundations really is kind of taken over the marketplace, generally speaking.
Probably because they're a lot easier to build.
A lot easier to build. They tend to have a little bit less issues, right?
For the most part. They're common.
They have different issues. Yeah. They have different issues. But masonry block, very common. And slab on grade, don't see them all that often unless it's like condos and apartments and things like that, But as soon as you get south of Illinois, almost everything's slab on grade. I don't think you find basements in Texas or, Arizona or anywhere like that. I don't know exactly why. Is there a reason why? They don't have basements?
Good question.
Yeah. Someone down in Texas, reach out to us. Why don't y'all have basements? If you guys have any foundation questions or anything like that, make sure to type them in the comments down there below, and we will definitely hit Al up and get his expertise in on this. Any questions are welcome. So different types of foundations have different types of problems. When we're talking about a slab on grade, it can still have problems. When we're talking about a stone foundation, poured concrete block, whatever it may be, it can still have problems. There are some old wood foundations still hanging around. I don't know how they survive, man, but every once in a while.
We've run across a few of them. I don't know how they ever got passed.
Yeah. In Wisconsin, right?
In Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But they're built. You wouldn't think they would be built as sturdy as they are, but they are.
Yeah. Now, in that type of situation, can you do a foundation replacement?
You're gonna check up a whole house,
support the house, tear everything out, rebuild,
put a footing down, and just block it up.
Yep.
Yeah. And then when you get to the top, you'd have to get to the top or whatever. Then you got to lower the house down and support everything. But man, that's a project.
Yeah.
Was it worth it financially?
We did it so long ago, I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't happen. It's not a very common thing, you guys. So we're drawing on his history here, his 23 years in the foundation world. As far as the foundations go, they all have different problems. However, today we're going to kind of focus on two main types of foundations that we see here in Wisconsin, which is your poured concrete wall foundation and masonry block wall foundation. Now, there is always a little bit of an issue with crawl spaces or basements. Here in Wisconsin, we generally go with basements. Almost every house built has a basement. Yeah. If you get into like apartment buildings and that kind of stuff, they do slab on grade just because it's cheaper, easier, faster, and it's not gonna. How could I say it? It's probably not going to have as many potential issues as a foundation with poured concrete or masonry block, but there's no basement. You're losing all that square footage, using all that usability and stuff like that. But if you're also can be bit in the butt by if there's any shifting of soil or anything like that, with all of our clay around here and stuff like that, can cause all kinds of problems. And you can have more settling problems with slab on grade as well, where the slab will settle and you won't see the slab. You'll see the structure start to shift and have issues. So every one of them can have their own problems or whatever. But crawl space or full basement is normally what you're going to see in a residential home situation here in Wisconsin. And I think both have their place. I would prefer always to have a basement, but it's
with the crawl space, you see a lot of it on the east side.
Okay.
They want the square footage of the house and not a full basement.
Yeah.
It all depends on if they tie the drain tile in, if they tie in properly. Otherwise, you get shifting.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the crawl space, lots of times you see those with additions and stuff as well, because it's cheaper. Probably, because then they can put more money into whatever their addition is. But having that full basement extended and stuff is just better for your water distribution and your drain tile systems and all that kind of stuff as well. I would think so. Yeah. Now, as far as foundations, there are common problems that we've kind of been touching on a little bit. When we talk about a poured concrete wall foundation, what's the most common problem you guys come across?
I'd say just shearing
Shearing.
the cracks.
Okay.
A lot of times when they backfill too fast, even with a block wall, but with a poured wall, that wall will crack.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a water issue. Sometimes it's just a shrink crack.
Okay. Sure.
So now if you have water coming through, then you got to do the epoxy injection to repair or, excavate it and waterproof it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's usually it's a shrinkage crack or they backfilled way too soon.
Yeah. With backfilling, so when you build the foundation wall, and then you're going to put your drain tile down. You're going to put probably some sort of a membrane down to prevent soil from getting through there, right? Like some silt membrane or whatever. And then you're going to put gravel down as a drainage material, and then you're going to backfill with whatever soil you got laying around, right? It's going to be clay, whatever.
Whatever they dug out goes right back in.
Yeah, and whatever Gatorade bottles the guy were drinking that day, they get thrown in there. And am I wrong?
Whiskey bottles, no.
There wasn't any, no Corona or PBR bottles.
If the wall's crooked and you start digging outside, you might find a couple, right?
Yeah.
But that's just the reality of it. It doesn't need to be necessarily a clean fill or anything like that. You're just filling the void so that you can have your topsoil and your grade up on top and stuff. Now, in a situation where Verette's going to come in and do a repair to shearing, you sometimes have to relieve the pressure that's on that wall, right? And so you may have to excavate the exterior of that wall in order to do so, right? And when you guys do that, and then you're going to redo everything we just talked about. But are you going to add in any waterproofing and all that kind of stuff on the outside of the house at all?
Yeah. If we have to excavate, we'll patch everything up on the outside and then tar it up.
Okay. Insulate?
We don't insulate.
Don't insulate too much?
No.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually new construction. Yeah. They're gonna pour that tar on the outside, and then they're gonna put pink foam on the outside and insulate.
If we do a repair on a house that's that new, then we'll marry it up.
Put some hardboard on.
Yeah. Now, as far as the excavation, whenever you use the excavation word in a foundation repair, you laugh because it scares people, right? They get freaked out.
It's like open heart surgery.
Yeah. It's just one of those parts. Okay, you have a heart problem, and you can take pills, or we can do open heart surgery. You start to freak out about it, right? Can
I just get a pacemaker and call it good? Even
though the open heart surgery, or in this case, the excavation, is probably what's best for the foundation. Relieve that pressure, let that bow go back. So the wall's bowed like this. As soon as you dig that back out, relieve all that pressure. I was at in high school, I was in the construction classes and stuff, and we went over to a foundation repair or whatever, and the guy was excavating. He's like, took us downstairs before he excavated the wall, and we looked at the bow or whatever, and stuff, and it was a whole class full of, goofballs, right? Construction guys in high school. And then he goes out and he excavates it or whatever, and then we go downstairs, and all that wall is went back to almost true plumb where it was originally constructed, pretty crazy, but just from relieving all that pressure and stuff, you put that wall back, and then they obviously had to go in and put their braces in and all that kind of stuff, which we'll get into a little bit that in a little bit here. But excavation is a scary thing because of the extra cost, but it really is a good thing for your foundation.
It's probably the best way to waterproof your basement.
And to start a foundation repair, to relieve the pressure from the shearing. Now, if you had a true shear where you had the wall shift, can you push that wall back?
Block or poured?
Block.
We'll make the attempt.
Okay.
If say it's over 2 inches, generally we'll call it and say, no, it's got to be a rebuild.
Okay, so at that point, you excavate, take out the wall, build a new wall.
Because there's too much pressure on that. We start pushing it back, it starts busting the ribs up.
Yeah. And masonry block, strong vertical, very weak horizontally. So when you start pushing on it, you're going to crack blocks and all that kind of stuff. The most common thing that I see when I see a bowed wall is going to be usually caused by hydrostatic pressure issues. Is that what you guys?
That'll be the floor.
That'll be the floor?
Yep.
Okay.
The cracks in your floor.
Yeah.
That's from the hydrostatic
pushing up on it and stuff like that. Now, cracks in the floor, not necessarily a foundation issue, right? Because the concrete floor holds the foundation true on the bottom, right? But having some hairline cracks and stuff, I mean, some people get freaked out about it because they got a great big slab of concrete, no relief joints, and then they get some hairline little cracks. What's going on in my basement?
Unless there's sign of moisture coming through.
Yeah.
And if the cracks are
big or heaving, where you're going to.
If it's heaving, then you know you have a lot of groundwater pushing up.
Yeah.
And generally the water's supposed to push up and then out to the sides.
Yeah.
Goes into the drain tile.
Yeah. Not a good situation to have that much water underneath your house. No, because you're usually going to have settling issues and things that go along with that. It's going to start turning into wall issues and things like that. If you're getting moisture coming up through your cracks, you have a water management problem. And usually I tell everybody with water management stuff, start on the outside of your house, grading gutters and downspouts. You keep that water away from your house, there's no chance it's going to get into your house. However, some of these people live in lowlands and they're building subdivisions on swamps that almost like these days. I'm like,
so these big heavy rains we get, water raises.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah. Water table.
Water table issues, yeah, and part of the thing is in some of these really desirable communities, they have this swampy land, that during heavy rain times it gets real mucky and stuff like that, but they come in and they want to build on it, and so the DNR comes in and says, okay, well, you have watershed, you need to put it in a retention pond, and they think that's going to solve the problem. No, it doesn't take care of it. You know what I mean? And so then when people are surprised when there's sump pumps running all the time or they're having foundation problems and stuff like that. I mean, it just...
well, I think now even with new construction, it's mandatory to put either a 6 or a 10 mil vapor barrier under that concrete.
Yeah. It's confusing as to how things can happen with that. Why Texas no basements, lots of clay in the soil, so they don't dig basements. I guess. I don't know. Does your excavator have a problem with clay?
Oh yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
Well, in Waukesha County, we've got a lot of rock.
Yeah,
in the soil too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I take rock over clay. Menominee Falls has a lot of clay, and so they have a lot of. Is that why you guys from Menominee Falls? They are.
It was luck of the draw.
It's just luck of the draw. Menominee Falls is like foundation repair central. That's like where all the foundation companies all come from because that's where a majority of the problems happen. But the Menominee Falls has a lot of clay, so that the water issues, subsoil, right?
Subsoil, and they expand. The clays expand.
Yep.
And it goes back to your grading gutters and downspouts. You don't keep up with that. You introduce that water next to your foundation. Those clays expand. There goes the wall.
Yeah. So what we're gathering out of this is that if you have a foundation problem, always make sure the drain tile is working properly or have it improved, right? We got to manage the water. So I always tell everybody, water is the number 2 enemy to homes, right? You know,
number one, radon?
No.
I'm not going to try answering that.
Us.
That's right.
Dude,
You're not good to your house.
People screw up more of their home.
Yeah. Lack of maintenance.
I was in a house, was it 2 days ago? 1999 build, little salt box over just south of Oconomowoc there. And great lot, probably 4-acre lot or whatever, lake frontage and stuff. Sell them for $430,000. 200 feet of lake frontage, $430,000. The bill, is that a problem? Probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, you also kind of wonder if that person is going to ever encounter water in their basement because, you could have flood insurance because if you don't have sump pump backup coverage, next thing you know, you don't get insured and you have problems. House
was labeled not in a floodplain. Didn't have any major foundation problems, but it was neglected. The people just didn't take care of it, and the grading was terrible. So they had ponding water sitting out right on the back of the house, and the sump pumps run. I'm like, oh man, but it was fix her up, improve the grading or whatever, and probably be just fine. But the people that lived there didn't take care of it at all, so it was just trash, and so that's why it was so cheap, because it probably needs $150,000 worth of repairs or more, and there'll be some return on that after you fix it up or you got lake frontage and stuff like that. But yeah, still, humans are number 1 enemy to homes. Water's number 2, and if you can manage those 2 things, you're doing all right. Managing yourself means that you don't go to Home Depot and listen to the 16-year-old kid and buy a bunch of crinkly drains and bring them home and shove them in your basement. It's just You got to do things the right way. And if you don't know how to do it, educate yourself. There's this beautiful thing called YouTube, okay? And while there are a lot of people out on YouTube that don't know what they're talking about, there are a lot of people on YouTube that do know what they're talking about, and guys that bring people on that know what they're talking about, okay, that you can listen to and you can get information from. And there, as we all will attest to, there are jobs that we do, and there's jobs that we don't do. And we don't do them for a reason, because somebody else will do it much better than I can. I'm not.
Absolutely.
I am not going to go up on a roof and start roofing. Could I roof? Could I throw some? Could you throw some shingles down?
Probably.
Yeah. Could you? Bill could throw some shingles down. You know.
Probably.
But is it going to be good? Is it going to line up? Is it going to not leak? I wouldn't want to take. Not something I'm going to. I wouldn't trust it. You know. And that's definitely something where you hire that professional to come in and do some of that work for you. And the extra amount that you pay for that professional is going to come and pay you back dividends in the back end of it. So as far as these foundation problems that we've been talking about, some of the things you're going to go down and look for in the basement, you're going to look for horizontal cracking. Horizontal cracking, probably the biggest alert that you have a foundation problem, right?
What about step cracks?
And step cracks.
Step cracks. And in masonry block, having minor hairline step cracks,
That's fine.
that's fine.
That's fine.
But when those step cracks start to get bigger, I think WFRP, if we throw that acronym around, the Wisconsin Association of Foundation Repair Specialists, or professionals, I think it is. The P? Yeah, it must be professionals, yeah. They have basically come up with the standards of practice for foundation repairs. Generally speaking, when I, as a home inspector, I'm going into a home and I see a horizontal crack, that's a wall I'm going to measure. I'm going to measure that wall. And what I'm measuring for is, according to WFRP, any wall that's a half of an inch out of plumb. Out of plumb meaning this is plumb, this is not plumb. Plumb, not plumb. Okay, if it's a half of an inch out of plumb, whether it's a lean, whether it's a shear, whether it's a bow, foundation specialist is recommended to be called when I'm putting in the report. Okay, I'm recommending a foundation specialist or structural engineer. Somebody come and take a look at this to figure out what's going on. One of the people that we always would say is, hey, you can get a free evaluation of this situation by calling up a foundation repair company like Al. Okay, so you can call up Al. Al will come and take a look at it for you, and he can give you an estimate of the repairs. You can get exactly what the cost is going to be. And Al's not, if there's not a problem, Al's going to tell you, nothing to worry about. Watch out for this. Improve your gutters and stuff. You'll be good. If you need anything, if anything changes, give me a call. Right? Yep. Those conversations probably happen on a regular basis for you guys. But if there's a problem, Al's going to be able to nail you down to a dollar figure and tell you exactly what it's going to cost them to have them come in and fix and repair this. Only time things change is when we find out things that we didn't know or things that we couldn't have anticipated. Like if we get into the drain tile and we find that there's a bigger issue.
And that's what we'll recommend, a drain tile test.
Yep.
If there's something that because I haven't seen everything, if there's something that I'm not sure of, or if the wall, it's a brick wall and you got to have an engineer come out.
Yeah.
I recommend, an engineer to come out because they supersede what we do.
Yeah. They tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And when
they went to college.
when someone's buying a house and you get a condition report that's attached to the offer to purchase, and the seller says we had moisture in the southeast corner of the basement during a heavy rain, you gotta vet that out for the person who's buying it, because the underwriter is going to ask about it.
Yeah.
And you run into situations where you got to get the drain tile test. And, the funny thing is that people sometimes don't want to show us the results if they're not what they wanted to see.
Yeah.
Because they want to still buy the house. Mm-hmm. And so the interesting thing is, it's like, if you're going to ask for a test, you have to expect to be able to share what the result is.
Yeah.
And people are trying to hope and pray that, hopes and prayers are going to get bracing or whatever it is. A lot of mortgage companies will not escrow for a basement repair.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, run into stuff like this.
And these foundation repairs, these are not fly-by-night repairs. What do you guys offer warranty on your work at all?
Yes.
What kind of warranty we're talking about?
Average 20 years.
That's 20 years, you guys. So a 20-year warranty tells me that you believe in what you're doing and that you are going to do it right the first time, that you're not going to have to come back and do anything with it again. And when he says 20 years, that's probably shooting low. You probably gonna last a lot longer than that.
It'll last a lot longer than 20 years.
Yeah.
And there's no added fee for that. Mm-hmm. It's not, you pay every year.
It's because you're confident in the job you did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There are companies out there that charge you every year to maintain your warranty. It's kind
if you
of
don't,
crazy. Yeah, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
SOL. And you know what's going to happen? The day you stop paying for your warranty, something's going to happen,
Yep.
and not a good thing to have happen. But, as far as these repairs go, that horizontal crack or whatever, we're going to talk about that real quickly. It's just basically the wall pushing or bowing in from too much pressure on the outside of the wall, right? If we're having shearing going on, that can be the same type of issue. And shearing usually means the wall is holding together, but a part of it is weaker than the rest, and that's where it took the pressure.
when you get a horizontal shear like at the bottom course, it's a lot of ground pressure pushing in. Same thing with vertical shear.
Yeah.
Generally, those are more in depth. You're probably not going to find a good vertical shear and just be able to repair that with a beam.
Yeah. With that, what he's talking about. So on that bottom block, that the bottom course of the stone that goes around your foundation, if you have a block foundation, is going to be held in place really by the concrete of your floor. So what happens is if the pressure is happening above that, the next course up is going to be pushed. Now, you all played with the red blocks when you were kids, right? Okay, and they don't hold themselves together real well all by themselves. So that's where these mortar joints come in, and these mortar joints are weaker than the block itself.
Yeah.
So that's why those splits will normally happen in those areas. So that's where we talk about tuck pointing and things like that. These mortar joints can fail. They can deteriorate, sometimes due to efflorescence from moisture and things like that. But other times, it's just from the cracking and moving and shifting that goes on. And tuck pointing is how we seal that basement up again to make sure that it's not going to have problems in the future. But horizontal crack, shearing crack, beams normally, vertical shear, difficult to take care of that with beams and things like that. But those are probably the most common things that I see in a home as far as foundation problems go. There are other types of foundation problems where you can have leaning and other types of things. When we talk about WFRP standards of foundation repair, they say generally over an inch of deflection. So deflection is how much is it bowing or how much is it leaning? Over an inch of deflection excavation is generally the common practice, right? And when it comes to foundation repairs professionals, they always want to make sure to follow those, because if something goes wrong, whatever, that's going to be the holy grail that's going to show up in court and kind of hang over your head. I believe there was talk that those WFRP standards would be moved into the Wisconsin Building Code. Is that?
And I do believe the building code, they follow them.
They do follow the WFRP
They're
standards.
trying to get that so it's all one.
Yeah. Those couple of guys that came up with those standards they're like little gnomes that run around in the industry now, but they kind of knew what they were talking about, because now those standards are being basically transferred throughout the nation, and kind of growing from the roots in Wisconsin, which is kind of cool.
And that's why they started that, so everybody could be on the same page.
Yeah, which, don't you wish the whole building industry was all on the same page? I wish the cell phone industry was all on the same page.
Too many chefs.
Let's all use the same damn charger, right? We don't need to make extra money on chargers, people. Come on now.
Yeah.
And as far as the foundation repair standards, you can go look them up online. You can print them out. The website for the WFRP is kind of, it's not the best. It's not as high quality as the Verette Construction website, okay? But it is navigable. You can find your way through it. The standards are printed there. They even have pictures and things like that to show how things should interact. From a home inspection perspective, I tell my guys at a half of an inch, we're referring for further evaluation. I'm not measuring corners and doing I'm not getting into that.
That's where I come in.
That's where you guys come in. That's where the experts come in. So the thought with measuring corners is the corners should never change. So if the corner is out of plumb, the wall was originally built a little bit out of plumb, and so we can subtract that as the concept. But I'm not going to risk that. That's where I bring in the experts. I'm not a foundation expert. I'm a generalist. I know a lot about all the different trades and the different types of construction and stuff.
It's funny how when someone has a problem, whoever it is that's in front of them is immediately a subject matter expert. Like, I'm going to ask you the questions until you tell me what I want you to say to me.
Exactly.
Would you agree?
Yeah. And when we get brought in to do a basement evaluation, it's usually after a home inspection.
Yep.
And a wall could be 3/4 of an inch out of plumb, and that's what's on his report.
But it's stable, right?
It's stable. So then I'll measure the corner. 8 out of 10 times it's 1/8 off, 1/4 off. So then that 3/4 of an inch turns into 1/2 an inch.
Yep.
Okay. We can beam it.
Yeah.
Usually makes the buyer or the homeowner a little happy.
Yeah, and the beams, while they're not cheap, I mean, this is Al brought in some samples of the beams here. So we're talking 1/4 inch thick steel. Is that
3/8?
3/8? Yeah. So 1/4 inch to 3/8 thick steel. You can see that bad boy. That's a bad mammoth. That's like 50 pounds sitting here, or maybe not 50 pounds, but
30.
I'm weak. And it's really big, thick steel columns of basically tubular steel that get pressed up against the wall. They get secured at the top. So this is one of the top brackets. So these are some of the bolts that they use. And they're these massive bolts. And these bolts are all determined size-wise by the WAFRP standards, I believe, correct?
Correct.
So these are just some big mamma jamma bolts. They drill the hole through the joist or whatever. And when they attach this to the joist, that's not going anywhere. The shear strength of this thick of a bolt is pretty high. So you're talking about holding back elephants with these things. But basically the joist slides down into here. They drill the 2 holes through here, and then they put those bolts through, tighten those suckers down, and
smash together.
Yeah, smush together. Is there torque ratings you guys have to use for those?
No,
not
just, yet.
Just make it nice and tight. I mean, eventually they probably will.
They may.
Some technical geek
You get
is
a
going
torque wrench out for that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's more or less these days when the guys are doing torquing in construction, they have the drill is set up for that, whatever they set it at.
Oh,
I think
yeah, right. It's a mid power torque.
Yeah, just like a hammer.
Just go until
hammer drill
wood starts oozing.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, and you guys just use like the Bosch hammer drills or whatever brand, right? And just with the right bits on it and stuff. And somebody said the guy that doesn't know what he's doing sits on the other side of the wrench, or does the same guy do the both sides? The hammer drills can be kind of heavy.
We've evolved to one guy can do both sides.
Oh.
Yeah.
Efficiencies.
If he tightens it from the nut side, it actually tightens everything.
Oh, okay. So then he doesn't have to worry about holding the other side. Oh, okay. Yeah, because some of those hammer drills are kind of heavy. I mean, that Bosch double mamma jamma, you guys had pictures on your website of guys drilling out the cores, and they got had one of the big ones in there. But you don't need that to get this smushed, I'm sure.
No.
Yeah. Can you guys do like a little hand impact? You're not going to do it.
It's usually all we're gonna say Milwaukee tools.
Yeah.
That we use.
Use the Milwaukee impact guns?
impacts.
Really? That's it. Sweet. Yeah, Milwaukee tool. We've promoted them on the show many times. This is Al brought
It's not a paid product placement, but if Milwaukee Tool would like to reach out to you, that'd be fine.
If they want to sponsor the show, I got your back, Milwaukee.
Love the demos.
Yeah, Tammy and I have talked about. Well, we're gonna make a pitch to Milwaukee Tool, and we're gonna get Milwaukee RV, with the whole wrap on it, and we're gonna drive around the country and just pitch Milwaukee Tools. And
instead of an Oscar Mayer wiener, it's gonna be Milwaukee Tool truck.
Exactly. How it'd be like a big drill with me on the side of the thing. Can't you see that? I can see that. Tammy, can you see that? Basically, we tighten that up, securing it to the home in the joist, and then at the bottom, sometimes you set them in the concrete when you're doing the drain tub, but most of the time you guys use the bolted method.
Yeah,
right.
All the time.
So this expands on the bottom.
Yeah.
So
it's a wedge anchor.
Yeah. So it's this as they so this is goes down like this along the wall. So that's along the wall, and they drill the hole down, and then this little wedge down here, as they pull the bolt up, this little wedge piece pushes these sections apart, basically putting pressure inside that sleeve, and that's going to then tighten this whole thing down and hold it. Once they've secured that to the floor and secured it to the joist, then we're going to back butter that so that wall can't move. A lot of times I go into foundation repairs and they miss the back buttering. I'm like, that just allows that whole wall to move then that much more.
If there's a gap back there, it does take up the space to create a tighter beam or a tighter bond with the wall.
Because if your wall's bowed, like this, and you have a flat beam up here, you're going to have a gap at the bottom and a gap at the top, and that would allow the wall to continue to move if you didn't fill that in. So that's what the back buttering is, and if you're looking WFRP standards, back buttering is the standard practice, right? Back in the day, probably... Well, in Menominee Falls, a lot of those homes started to have foundation problems in the 80s and stuff like that. So a lot of them have these I-beam things that they use with brackets that never... in some cases, they weren't having too big of a problem with it, but in other cases, it's just falling apart. Right?
What, with just the I-beam against the wall and attached to
a bracket,
some wood or a
couple leg bolts?
Yeah. That's just not going to cut it. I mean, this is a serious piece of steel, and it's not going anywhere. These things, I tell somebody, when you're going to look at homes, if you go into the basement and you see a foundation repair that's done properly, okay, that is going to be a home that's not going to have foundation problems in the future.
And there should be a warranty with that as well.
Yeah. Usually transferable.
Yep.
Right. Sometimes warranty people, when businesses give out warranties, they say it's only for the person that paid me. But it really should be transferable.
No, it's with the house.
Yeah, exactly. As far as these foundation repairs, I mean, I've heard $500-600 a beam. I've heard, $1,200 a beam. Everything. It's a lot of it has to do with a number of different factors, and what they're doing it by beam is they're just to take their cost and what they need to make on the job, and they're just dividing it by the number of beams, right?
Yeah, and each basement's gonna be different.
Yep,
depends on the height of the wall. With these bigger beams, we can space them out further. But there's usually a general. I'm not going to say it's 500 a beam.
No,
but it's all included in.
Yeah, everything's included in that. It's not just that this piece of steel costs $500.
No.
It's this piece of steel. It's me and my education. It's me and my guys, my tools, my insurance, my truck. Expensive hardware, the drills, all the stuff, your insurance and everything that you guys carry. And you always want to hire a company that's insured, people, okay? If you have somebody come down and start drilling on your basement and putting in pressure walls and start excavating and they collapse a wall and then, you know what? Then they disappear the next day. Guess what? They probably didn't have insurance. So make sure you have hiring a contractor that has insurance that's reputable. Talk to them, interview them. You're hiring somebody to spend a bunch of money and to fix your home and an important piece of your home. Not just this is they're just coming in to patch a drywall here, okay, or something like that. But it's something that is holding up your entire home. All right.
Well, so good practice too. You don't just go with one.
Yeah,
you get multiple
estimates. Yeah, and if you need other companies or whatever, there's lots of different ways you can get those kinds of recommendations. You want to hire somebody that's been doing this for a while. You don't want to hire somebody that their website went up 2 years ago. Yeah. That they're just cashing in on the shortage of labor or something like that. You want to hire somebody that's been doing this a long time, that's been successful at it, and if they haven't been doing a good job, if they haven't been taking care of their customers, they're not going to be business long. When you talk about Verette Construction being in business since 1969, however that works out, it's something that has value, and that you guys are going to be here in 20 years to honor that warranty, and that's got value, people. And even though the other guy may come in and you may save $2,000, okay, that $2,000 is probably not going to get you the extra services and warranties and other things that you would get if you hired a company like Verette Construction. So, Verette Construction, if you need the phone number again, let me give it to you here. It's 262-250-7502, based out of Menominee Falls, working in pretty much all of southeastern Wisconsin here.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Now, as far as foundation repairs go, beams is by far the most common foundation repair that you guys do, correct?
Correct.
Okay. There are some alternative foundation repairs out there. Okay. All right. So this is kind of
I've seen a few of them.
Tammy, can you give me over to the computer here? So these things, this is a roll of carbon fiber. Okay, carbon fiber. Now, in a carbon fiber repair, there are companies that go out there. What they do is they sometimes they'll grind down the stone a little bit. Mm-hmm. Other times they just put it right over the top with some epoxy, and then they push the carbon fiber strip up against the wall, and they say, done. Give me money, and they'll still sell it as a cheaper foundation repair. Yeah. But they didn't drill anything. They didn't put any structural steel in. They didn't do much of anything except put this carbon fiber and some epoxy on your wall. Now, there have been times where I've gone into the home and I haven't seen the carbon fiber peeling off. But there have been also other times where I've gone into the home and the carbon fiber is separated. The epoxy bond is broken,
Pulls it right off the block.
Yeah, pulls it right off the block. And it just doesn't hold up and last. And the companies that are out there selling that, hey, if they want to do it and they want to, I don't want to accuse them of being dishonest. But is it the best repair for the situation? Probably not.
No, by far no.
By far. And
old-fashioned steel beam from top to bottom, it's not going to tip with the carbon fiber. Yeah, your wall may stay straight. Yeah. But if there's any pressure, it's going to push it all in.
It'll
straight.
Still push it.
Yeah.
That can't withstand that shear pressure.
Correct.
Yep, exactly. And these carbon fiber strips are not a way you want to go. So here's a guy getting serious. But you know what? Notice about this guy? He's very clean. Mm-hmm. I don't think your guys are clean at the end of the day, are they? They're pretty dirty because they're on there grinding stone and doing and cutting and hauling out and block and rock and bringing in gravel. I mean, yeah. It's not the carbon fiber repair, you guys, not a foundation repair that I would recommend in any way, shape, or form. So I would avoid that at all costs. This is what it might look like if you're an inspector out there watching the show or a realtor and you're going into the home and you're looking, oh, what is that on the wall? These here are their carbon fiber strips that are basically glued to the wall and they're hoping that they will be strong enough to stop the wall from pushing in, and it doesn't. So I would avoid that if I were you. If the carbon fiber company out there, you would like to come on the show and prove me wrong, I would love it. But I would love to hear a conversation and talk to your engineers about that. But anyways, there is also this other type of kind of plates that they put on the wall. You've seen those before?
Earth anchors.
Earth anchors, yeah. So they basically put one plate in your house, and then they basically push another plate down through the soil, and then they put a threaded rod out to it. I don't know, man. And they're hoping on the earth holding it back. But the problem is the earth is what's moving and pushing in to begin with. And this little tiny plate on here, it's maybe 1/8 inch thick steel at best. So I would bet dollars to donuts I could probably bend it or bend it with a hammer. You know,
we've repaired a few of those. Usually the rod is connected to a monstrous chunk of concrete.
Oh, really?
So they'll dig a big trough, 10 feet away, run that rod in there. The problem is that it's up to the homeowner, because if that wall starts to subside, it's up to the homeowner to tighten
that nut up.
Nobody does that.
Yeah. Okay. So what Al's talking about is on the inside of the foundation here, there's a nut here, and if you don't tighten that nut up as the foundation subsides or goes back a little bit, then it's basically creates a gap there, and you can have more movement and stuff. So
I could just put some Loctite on it, though. Couldn't I?
Yeah, I don't know that that's going to do it. I don't know that.
No bueno.
But those are wall anchors. Wall anchors are not, again, not the repair I would suggest. This is another look of what it might look like. There's a couple of companies out there that offer those. Better than carbon fiber.
Better than carbon fiber. We've had to use those in a garage situation.
Where you can't.
Garage wall. That was our only option.
Yeah, where you're stuck. Yeah, not much you can do there with that. And then this is kind of what it would look like in the middle of your basement if you had a whole bunch of them in there. So, and
that's
they put
a poured wall.
What's that? That's a poured wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this little buckle on here, they basically bend that to try to give this little piece of thin steel some structural strength. But this is really 1/8 inch thick steel. It's not very strong. And then this is that nut that we were talking about where you have to keep tightening it up and stuff. So this is what a beamed basement would look like. These are, I think, a little skinnier than what you guys. That's not these guys. Those are probably 3-inch beams, and you guys are what, 5.5?
That's when I first started. It was a 2x3 beam.
Yeah. And the concept still works, but the 2x3 beam is not going to be as strong as
Correct,
this.
yeah.
This thing is going to hold back elephants and cars and
2x3 will still bend with the wall.
a little bit. Yeah. And then a lot of it has to do also with the thickness of the steel too. When you're talking about 3/8 thick steel, that's substantial. Yeah. This is so we I was like, you're gonna show me some pictures of stuff. I'm like, yeah, look at that. So this is a picture of a bowed concrete.
Was that
wall.
actually a basement you were in?
This is the basement I was in. Yeah.
So if the appraiser doesn't say anything, we're good. We can close on that deal. You said we have a problem.
Yeah, and so many people are not getting a home inspection these days, and the basement is full of stuff, and then they move in and they see this.
Yeah.
What?
Now, was that put in because of the wall to keep it from pushing in all the way?
What's that? This plate here?
Yeah.
The plate. I don't know what they did. That was just a homeowner thing. I have to guess. Yeah, but there's no way that any qualified home inspector, even if there's stuff in the basement, is going to miss this. No.
Yeah. I've had conversations with a couple of attorneys that say specifically that if you go and get a house under contract, you buy the house, the seller didn't disclose anything, they covered up the walls, they just tried to hide it. If it comes back later, those people actually still get sued.
Yeah, and you
doesn't mean that you're off the hook from disclosing it.
Yeah, there was a guy. So I had a house in Tulsa, right across from where the Tulsa police station is. Tulsa police station is kind of a weird place because it's in the middle of like subdivision or whatever. The house was just on the street from the police station, and a young couple. They had written on 15 houses that didn't get an accepted offer. So, and they have a new baby coming, 2 months away or whatever. So
high urgency. They wrote for $50,000 over asking, missed out on the last 15 offers, whatever, and offered with no home inspection contingency. Yep. Okay. Now the guy that was selling the house had gone and listed in the disclosure, said nothing about nothing. Okay. However, when they move into the house, and their realtor's like, okay, at least get a post-closing inspection, so at least you can know what you're looking at and the condition of the home to make sure it's safe for you guys, right? And so I come in then, and they bought the house in winter.
They wrote their offer in winter, so late winter, like March, February, something like that, and a bunch of snow and stuff still. And then I come in April or whatever it was, all the snow melted and stuff, and the house is empty. And I go down the basement. There's a foundation problem. The roof needs to be replaced. There's a whole bunch of siding and rot issues and stuff like that. So I'm like, well. I go and tell him. The girl starts crying in the kitchen, and I'm just feeling like a turd, because I got to tell him all this bad news. And I'm not making anything up, but it's still, I hate giving bad news,
Sure.
and especially in this situation where you got the pregnant wife, the young couple buying their first house, and they are looking at $80,000 to $100,000 or more in repairs, and I'm like. You can't go back, and reverse time or anything like that, but you can get a hold of some contractor. They gave them some names of people to call or whatever, and they started calling around. They got lucky. They got a hold of a roofer. And the roofer comes out to do their estimate. He's like, oh, yeah, I was here 6 months ago and told the guy he needs a whole new roof. Really? Okay. So this guy knew he had a roof problem.
What's it going to take for you to testify?
Yeah, exactly is what it comes down to. So then he wrote up his estimate and all this kind of stuff and then provided the estimate that he gave the guy 6 months ago without them having to do anything. They didn't have to get an attorney to get this out of the guy or nothing. This guy's very helpful. But once they found that out, then they started calling around and they found a foundation company that had come out and given them an estimate to repair a crack in the basement. Well, the foundation guy comes out and he's like, yeah, but the crack wasn't filled like that. So the guy went and filled his crack in with tuck pointing and whatever. And they also said that when they did their showings and stuff, there was boxes piled up along that wall, And so then they started getting into this all and a whole bunch of stuff. The guy had a whole bunch of contractors come out and look at the stuff to fix it up or whatever because he was going to sell it and we had to get maximum dollar for it. And at that time, houses were flying off the market and people weren't getting inspections and things like that. And it turns out that they ended up going after the guy, and the guy tried to deny that there's I didn't know about any of that, and then they served him with all the paperwork and all the disclosure, all the discovery and everything like that. And he's like, all right, what's it going to take? And so then the guy was proposed with having to potentially buy his house back, Instead, I think what ended up happening, and the attorneys had contacted me because I was going to have to come and testify and do all this other stuff, and I was subpoenaed to go to court because they had gone through all this process with this dude, And I think that I got canceled, so I'm assuming that the guy settled out of court and basically just paid him a bunch of money and paid for the repairs, paid for their attorney fees, costed the guy probably every penny that he made on the house and then some. Plus, this couple was displaced from the home for however long, so that they had to pay for the hotel and whatever else, And going in there, young couple, pregnant wife, by the time the court came, a new little baby, and stuff. It's like you get all the sympathy in the world in that situation, And so that guy's in a whole world of hurt, But those situations are if they hadn't gotten a hold of that roofer that said he was here 6 months ago, they'd have been paying for that all on their own. They'd have been stuck with it,
And there's some people that take the path of least resistance that don't dig far enough to actually uncover those kind of details. And it's a shame when it happens.
Yeah. And now that we're getting a little bit into cost, so your work's not cheap. You guys are good, and you get paid a good dollar for what you do as you should, okay? And one of the things that comes up lots of times is how are we going to pay for this, right? So if I live in my home and I find out that I have a foundation problem and not a part of a real estate transaction or anything like that, where there's going to be cash out and escrows and whatever else might happen, crazy weird stuff. I'm just living in my home and I have foundation repairs. I've heard as little as $3,000 or $4,000 for cheap and easy stuff. I've heard as much as $28,000-30,000, for more expensive things, and upwards, How can we pay for these types of things? Do you guys just take a credit card or?
We do credit card. A lot of our payments are out of closing.
So we'll take payment at closing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then they give you a date, or what we do for sometimes is we'll do a pre-listing inspection. We'll say, okay, so we're going to take payment at closing or 90 days or something like that. It's probably something like that because you're not going to.
Usually we schedule close to closing.
Yeah. Make sure the lender's got that customer all approved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, if it's not a part of a real estate transaction, and I need pull equity, how can we do that, Bill?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's really some. First of all, there's in this day and age, there's so many people that are willing to borrow money.
Yeah.
So I've seen some home improvement companies that will do some loans that are anywhere between, let's say anywhere between 10 and 20% interest. If someone is in a spot where they can't qualify for home equity line of credit, I've seen people go and get a home equity line of credit because you don't technically have to specify what the money's being used for.
Okay.
So there's, and most
that's
people,
basically like a credit card. right? Home equity line of credit.
Yeah. Other than the fact that it's tied to the prime rate instead of tied to typical credit card rates.
Yeah.
So, and the mortgage companies aren't going to ask what you're using the money for most of the time. And the only caveat would be whether or not the person is going to actually have to get an appraisal done and then find out if something's then the appraiser. But usually, Matt, the appraiser's not going through the basement on a HELOC.
Yeah.
They're usually not.
Yeah, because you're going to have a value that's reasonable, and you're only going to HELOC out probably, 70-80% of the home's value?
Well, most places now you can get HELOCs out to 90%.
Okay.
So usually there's usually options for people, provided that the person who did all the deferred maintenance and looked the other way was responsible and paid their bills.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
right?
nothing else.
There's always that.
There's always that caveat, yeah. So, yeah, that is one way you can handle that. And when you have those large bills, you don't necessarily have to throw it on a credit card. You can do some, home equity line of credits. You're basically leveraging the money that you have in equity in your home to get some of those things done. And don't think of a foundation repair as an expense. There is a huge return on investment there, because eventually you're going to go to sell.
Well, it's no different than if you have a classic car that you don't have service records for. Yeah. It's no different than if you have a Highline house and someone doesn't have the records to say when they did the roof, the mechanicals, whatever, the preventative stuff that you talk to everybody about. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the foundation problem is not going away. It's not going to get better on its own. This is not a self-healing wound.
Only when it's dry out.
What's that?
Only when it's dry.
When it's dry out, it's not
nobody has
going to get
basement
worse.
issues when it's dry.
Yeah.
Right.
So with the foundation repair, you guys, there's a huge return on investment. Not only are you going to have a better home that's going to be safer and more comfortable and stuff, you're going to manage your water better and things like that, but you're also going to not have to deal with those types of problems when it comes time for sale. Because if you have a foundation problem and somebody comes down there and calls it out, inspector, whatever it may be, now you're dealing with that cost of that repair just probably is more expensive than it would have been had you dealt with it 2 years earlier. Okay. But you're going to have to deal with that before you're going to be able to sell that home, or they're going to offer you so much less for that home. So if I come into a house and I'm looking at buying a house and I see that there's a major foundation problem, I'm writing for $30,000 less than what I would pay if they're selling it as is, and I'm going to have to deal with it. When the foundation problem may only be $10,000 repair.
Something's always worth way less money when it's not repaired than when it is.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
exactly.
you agree?
Yeah. And when I see beams in basement, you guys, that means they had a problem. That means it got fixed, and it will never be a problem again if it was fixed properly. And when you do with Verette Construction, you're going to get a 20-year warranty, which is a huge selling point, and making sure that, hey, I know that my home is not going to have a foundation problem because Verette Construction came and did the repair, and I got a 20-year warranty that they're going to stand by whether I live in the home for 5 years and sell it or whatever. I'm not going to have a foundation problem where everybody else might. So that's huge. That's big. Now, as far as the water management thing, water management is always a huge thing. We talked a little bit about it. Al did bring in some of the elements that they use for water management. So this tube here, this is a section of drain tile. So that's what gets, I put that in the wrong spot. Looks like your head's popping off the top of it. But that drain tile is what's in the ground, and that basically the water can seep into that, and then it basically is pitched over to your sump crock, and the sump crock's going to pump it up and out.
Gravity fed.
Gravity fed. Don't have to worry about it. Sometimes if you had a problem in there, you can get iron ochre and rocks.
That's a whole nother segment.
That's a whole nother.
You got to do another.
We'll have to have Al on again to talk about iron ochre.
Yeah.
But it very rarely gets clogged up or whatever. But a drain tile test, they can drill a hole in the drain tile, whatever, send a camera in there, or push water through and make sure that everything's working properly. And that's one way to do it. Now, also when they do an interior drain tile, or you had a drain tile problem and they're redoing it, they're going to put this into the wall, and it's going to be right up against the foundation wall. And that way, if any water sheets down that wall, it's going to go directly into the drain tile.
Correct.
Right? And then they put the outside concrete here. So if you go into the basement and you see...
It's not a pretty thing. But.
Yeah, you see this sticking up, that's what this is. This is allowing the water to go straight into the drain tile, so it's never going to go onto your floor and stuff like that, or very little of it will be able to go on the floor and cause a problem for you. What is this called?
MTI board.
MTI board.
And drainage board.
You guys are basically cutting it and bending it, or it comes like this?
It comes in a 4-foot section, just like that.
Okay.
And we
Interlock
cut
them?
it. Yeah, we cut it to 2 corners.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So managing water is huge, and making sure that your grading gutters and downspouts are intact, but also making sure you have your interior drainage and stuff working properly is going to keep your foundation in good shape. So this is all. I like to talk about foundations as a system. It's not just the wall. It's not just the slab. It's not just the footing. It's a slab, a footing, gravel, a drain tile, fabric around the drain tile to prevent soil from getting into it. Then your grading gutters and downspouts on the outside to move that water away, and how it attaches to your sill plate. It all is interrelated, and it's a huge system of your home that most people don't understand and ignore. Yeah. So go down and check your basement, guys. You're looking for step cracks that have gotten out of control, any shearing, where shearing is going back and forth, any types of horizontal cracking and things like that. Smell, mustiness.
You might be able to smell it before you see it.
If you're having water issues, yeah. Every basement in the state of Wisconsin should be running a dehumidifier. Every basement, 24/7, 365. We have too much moisture in our soil to not do that. We don't live in Arizona. So make sure you're managing the water in your home. Al, man, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate you, man. It was a great conversation. I think people learned a lot about the foundation and foundation repair. And while I'm involved with it on a regular basis, and you are, and not so much, but Bill has been a part of a lot of people financing these types of projects and things.
And I get into conversations when there's stuff that shows up in an offer to purchase usually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But appreciate you guys coming in and helping us out with our conversation today. If you do need to reach out to Verette Construction, the phone number again, and Tammy will put it up on the screen for us, is 262-250-7502. That's Verette Construction based out of Menominee Falls. Give them a call, 20-year warranty, free estimates, and you can tell them Al sent you, along with the helpful home inspector and Bill Miller from Bank 59. Great company out there to help you with any foundational problems that you might have in your home, and they can come out and diagnose that, give you some price estimates and things like that, and they'd be happy to help you out. So give them a jingle. Thanks again for tuning in today. If you guys are looking for any mortgage needs or anything like that, if you need anything as far as HELOC loans or anything like that, give Bill Miller over at Bank 59 a call. What's your tagline, Bill?
BillTheBanker.com.
BillTheBanker.com. There you go. Give them a call. Yeah, and if you want to look up Verette Construction, VeretteConstruction.com, I think it is.
I'll think of one for you.
Great guys. You guys, hopefully we'll have you back again soon. Hey, thanks for tuning in today, you guys. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you want to know when we put out the next one, give me a bell notification. It's a little bell on the bottom right-hand side. And subscribe. You want to know when I'm coming out with new stuff or whatever. You want to be able to check us out and be alerted to new video content coming your way. Subscribe button's really the way to go. Thanks again for tuning in, you guys. Remember, the better you take care of your house, better it's going to take care of you. Have a good one.